Welcome back to another round of What Your Commander Says About You, the segment where we peel back the subjective veil of personal preference and catalog the underlying traits and tribulations of you, the player. At this point, I have to assume that you're familiar enough with the concept that I can breeze past much of the preamble in our previous video, but feel free to go back and skim through it if you need to. Otherwise, let's get this show on the road and talk some serious. Can I say that? Do you think we should bleep that out? First up, we've got the Grand Arbiter himself, Augustine IV. Ever so slightly more toxic than the first three Augustines. Ethically confused Punisher logo bumper sticker. Deeply invested in separating the art from the artist, even more so when the art is bland and unremarkable. Perpetually identifying with the worst person they can find in any piece of media. Wandering somewhere along the lines between neoliberalism and full-blown libertarian. I'm not going to say incel vibes, but the argument could be made. Next up is the brutish and unrelenting Zergo Helm Smasher. You think you're really clever, unfortunately, you're not. Strategically a square peg, endlessly thrusting itself upon a round hole until the entire apparatus is in shambles. So consumed by a pervasive, low-grade jealousy that you can't bear to see anyone around you happy anymore. Make your local sports team an integral part of your personality and invest an entirely unhealthy amount of energy and thought into it. At number 3, we've got Nekuzar the Mind Razor. Honest to God EDM kid. Grew up in the suburbs but talks about the hood a lot. Sells pills from their stepmother's medicine cabinet, not for the money, but more so as an attempt to connect with their peers. Peter Pan syndrome dialed up to 11. 10-year age gap in all their relationships. I'll let you guess which side of the gap they typically fall on. Next on the list is Shorakai Genesis Engine. Coder or programmer or one of the other computer jobs I don't really understand that turn hapless, antisocial teenagers into cash money millionaires who use an app to get their laundry done by strangers, just so they don't have to make the trek down to the laundry room of their high-rise apartment building and potentially engage with any of their neighbors. Also, probably outsources content for their Hinge dating profile. Send triplets. Serious FOMO. Atheist, but heavily invested in astrology. Makes up lyrics to songs they don't know well enough to follow along with at karaoke. Wine mom in training. Runs a repost account on Instagram, but fiercely maintains that curation of content is an art in and of itself. Tiny Timna and her best buddy Thrasios. There is an idea of a Timna Thrasios player, some kind of abstraction. There is no real you, only an entity, something illusory. And though you can hide your cold gaze, and I can shake your hand and feel flesh gripping mine, and maybe I can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, you simply are not there. Next up is King of the Suckfest himself, Big Ed Marky Mark. Gatekeeps things that most people already outgrew in high school. Cannot handle spending time alone with themselves. That delicate niche between overtly competitive and vaguely inept that breeds catastrophically reactive games. Harry Potter adults gone wild. Flubs the Fool. So you've committed to the bit. The moment you realize you've stretched a joke out for a little too long and nobody thinks it's funny anymore, but you get a couple pity laughs and excuse yourself for a moment to wallow in the despair of it all. Just another self-deprecating early 2000s hot topic, happy tree friends, Motorola flip phone ass millennial, desperately grasping at fragments of joy from the rubble and debris of a world that's crumbling beneath our very feet. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. Urza, Lord High Artificer. If you've ever had someone tell you they play a low-power, casual Urza deck, then you may be entitled to financial compensation. Call the number at the bottom of the screen today to join our class action lawsuit to hold Big Tolaria accountable. And finally, the original man in the chair, Aloro. Old head, health goth, talks a lot about how much better things were before this or that new thing that debuted past their prime. Perpetual case of, I used to see that band before they got big. Entitled, irritable, and typically disillusioned with the trajectory of their own life, so now they make it everyone else's problem. Reposts boomer humor on Facebook. Still active on Facebook. Uses Facebook frequently. Only really eats Soylent and Soylent substitutes. And that's it for today. Who should we do next? Who's your favorite commander? What's your deal anyway? Are you seeing anyone? Let us know in the comments.